Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today I'm going to talk about why a short spear would be a great way to have as a weapon of self-defense in your bedroom. But before we do that, if you're interested in survival courses, there will be a link to my survival course website for Belgium. Also a link to my book called Bloody Crosses. It's in Dutch, so it's a detective story, so if you're interested, take a look, I would say. So, a short spear. I always have this in my bedroom because, in my opinion, this has become my go-to self-defense weapon if I'm late at night and I hear something downstairs. Well, if you don't have an officially firearm, perhaps this is the next best solution. So, a spear. There are many things you can do that I will show you in this video. Some of them are perhaps not the best tactics, but there are some tactics you can implement if you are perhaps want to stop them while your partner is calling the cops or whatever situation. I don't say that all the tactics here are good, because some will only work if you have wooden floors, others will work perhaps if you're a strong person, or perhaps if you're a weaker person, or you're just in a haze from your person who is not easily woken up. So, first of all, I like the spear because it's a versatile weapon, and it's also it gives you a little bit of range, and it's also good for close combat. So, perhaps I made a video already about this, but the spear is a good self-defense weapon. If you're a burglar, and what do most burglars have? If you look at the security footage or such things, you see that most burglars, at least here in Belgium, are not armed with firearms. Perhaps that's a different case in America, but here in Belgium, it's not that common to have firearms, and especially in countries like Great Britain or something, where they usually using machetes or knives or perhaps clubs. Those are weapons that what is a burglar usually? A burglar is usually a young person with perhaps a criminal background, so they do not have. It's not easy to have access to access to illegal firearms. So, like I said, usually they will be armed with either no weapons because they are burglars. They are here to steal shit. They are here not to kill you, or they not anticipate to kill you, because from the moment they should hear noise, they are scattering away because the risk is not worth the reward. That's why a burglar is more of a cowardly type of criminal. But if you have criminals, like organized criminals, that are determined to get what you have during disaster scenarios, or they know that you have something important for a prepper, that could be like something like gold, weapon, guns, expensive technology or whatever. Those things, they can be determined to get it no matter what. In that case, you need self-defense. So, if you can see, this is one of those tool gardenings, and I sharpened the top. And I also have made a video about using it as a walking stick, but it's very sharp. This thing can pierce through plate metal, and the thing is, if you are eye in eye with a person who has a shorter weapon like a machete or a knife, you want them to keep them at bay, and it is at least distance that you will have them at bay, and you can go further. And this could be especially a deadly weapon if you're in a small hallway or in a confined room where they don't have room to, especially if there are multiple burglars, they don't have the room to disperse, and that you have to widen your angles of attack. You are in small corridors, and that's like the Spartans. You have more. It doesn't matter how many burglars there are. You have only this small window to defend. So, like I said, you can either go far away. And by the way, if you're stabbing, don't go like this, because first of all, you're putting yourself off balance, and it will the risk if they are going to grab it will be greater. So if you're going to, you have to be always standing firmly your ground, and do the arms work, let the arms do the work, and retreat immediately. You have to don't try to poke them like this. Try to step and go back. Don't give them a chance to grab the weapon and pull you off your balance. If you're going to do it, and especially if you're going to try to, for the weak points, go for the torso. And with a weapon like this, I would not advise to go for the hands or the weapons. Always go for the point that they cannot try to dodge or try to scare them away by pointing it in their face, and then go for the triangle right here. So, like I said, that's the reason why it's a good home self-defense weapon. Always make sure that it's sharp enough, and if it's not a burglar that you want to kill, because this is not something that many people think about. Some burglars are people that you know, family members, or perhaps even people who live with you, that sometimes will have a psychotic breakdown. Perhaps they use drugs, or they have mental problems. You don't want to kill them because they have a psychotic episode. In that case, you can perhaps try to use the other side of the stick to either keep them at bay, or to smack them real hard, that you incapacitate them, that perhaps try to strike on their arms or their legs or whatever, or try to poke into, I don't say poke, but to jab on a weak spot like the head. That you can incapacitate them, but not kill them. That's something that you will not do in case of a burglar in the middle of night if you hear somebody breaking. And I would say don't make it too long, because if the fight is going a little bit closer, at least then you have the option to half sword them. The term half swording is when you have something like a big sword, but the combat is very close. Then you need to be able to grab the tip and go like this, and that way you can be more accurate at the specific points that you're going to stab in their knee, the leg, their torso, their face, perhaps their arms. And that way you can also, if the danger is coming close, if they're getting really close, you can smack them like this. It's like with bayonet training. If somebody is getting too close for be able to step with the bayonet, you can smack them with the butt of your rifle, but in this case that could be the spear. So I would say practice a little bit. There are certain martial arts that can do this, like Boken or Jodo or that kind of stuff. Quarter stuffing is also a kind of thing. Of course, spear fighting from Hema is also viable, but perhaps try to exercise with somebody with a dull stick as a spear to learn how people would really move. It's not like in the movies that they will make big movements that are predictable. No, they will go in and they will be hectic and unpredictable. It's not like in the movies. I would say look up some videos about those. Oh yeah. So I'm going to show you now some things you can also do with a spear to protect yourself from burglars, or perhaps some specific situations that might give you some ideas. Like I said, these are not the best ideas, but it's best to get some ideas what is possible and know it, than be in those situations and not be able to think about it at the moment. So I'm going to show you with the power of editing some of these ideas. So another thing is you can hide it really easily under or next to your bed. So imagine you're sleeping and there's an intruder and you need a weapon. You can just, there you go. And now you have a spear ready that is easily being hidden next or under your bed. And yeah, it's directly ready to use. So if you have an attic or a room, something like that, that opens up with only one of those locks that you put them down, I have the luck that I can reach this with my hands, but at my grandma's house she had an attic, but it was really high up to the ceiling. So you always had to use a stick to poke the lock open, and then only then it will fall down. So imagine if you are sleeping in the top floor of your house and you hear a burglars coming in. Perhaps you think, I will not be able to barricade myself into the room. You have a more fighting chance at the attic, because if they come up, you have the upper hand. You can stab them. They have to poke their head through. You can hear them climbing up, and that's perhaps a better defensive position to defend yourself. Oh. And perhaps, like I said, with my grandma's house, you needed a stick to get it down. So if you have a spear and you know there are burglars in the house, perhaps you can open it up, and that way you can open the ladder to the attic. That way, without in the night looking for where did I left the stick to open it up. So you can also do it with the spear that way. So another thing you can do is tape a flashlight to your spear. So imagine that you're in a hallway and somebody is just putting a light in your face. Perhaps it's not visible in the camera, but it is absolutely blinding, especially if you have one of those stroll lamp sights. So you don't know which attack they're going to do if you point it right in their face, and that way you have something in the dark to know where you're going in the night, and you can just, if you're holding a spear, put it out, go through the hallways. You see somebody, and then point it right in their face, or perhaps use the stroll light to blind them and that they cannot see which move you're going to do. And it's something cheap you can do with just duct tape and a flashlight. And it's also, if you hide it under your bed, you always have directly a flashlight with you with your self-defense tool. Alright, so perhaps you are in a hallway or whatever, and you see that the burglar has a firearm. Well, you cannot counter in with them, and they can control you from a distance. So I would never advise to throw away your weapon like a throwing knife or something like that. But if you're going to use it like this, like throwing your spear, it should be in a way that you know that you can get out if the person is distracted by either dodging the weapon or by the moments that they are taking in the weapon and they have to process that wound. Perhaps you can either charge in or you can run away. I would always advise to run away and lock yourself into the room and try to climb out of the window, but if the situation allows it and you struck a good hit by throwing it at the person, you can perhaps charge them, but that is more of a risk that they will try to shoot you. But for the sake of the video, I will try to throw the spear. Perhaps this is the distance, usual distance in a room, about 3 meters. And that will be not a good day for the person. So it is around chest height. And that's also the reason why I say aim for the chest, because this is the biggest target with not only the most organs, but also a lot of nerves. And if you shoot somebody in the center, if they are hit and penetrated inside of their body, they will have a moment of shock, and that is perhaps the moment you can run away or attack. So that was my video about why a short spear would be an ideal self-defense weapon against burglaries if you're being burglared in the night. So if you have any other ideas or tips or tricks or hacks that you can do with a spear like this, please let me know. Always eager to learn new things. And like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and see you in the next video. Cheers! So, perhaps there are too many burglars or they have firearms and you have a window inside of your house. You can smack the window with the butt step of your spear and break off the, how do you say this, the pieces, the shards of glass that are on the sides of it, that you will not cut yourself if you climb through the window, and that way you can evacuate your house, go to the neighbors and let them call the cops or whatever, but at least you will be safe from an opponent that will have a firearm. So if you have a door that opens inwards, uh, perhaps you have that kind of bedroom, what you can do is to stop someone from intruding, but or at least hold them back. You can, if you have a wooden floor, you can stab the point into the ground, and that way the door will be blocked. It's like a door stopper. So that's perhaps a way, if you have a wooden floor, to prevent multiple assailants to storm into through the door. But yeah, it's not the best tactic, but it's a tactic. And the same thing goes for if if you want to hold the door, like what is the guy's called? Hodor from in Game of Thrones. You can stab. I will not do it here hard, but if you have a wooden floor, stab your spear into the floor and hold the spear beneath the, how do you say this, the door handle. If it's possible, they cannot push it down. If you don't have one of those, you can shove it right here in, and then try to push it in. They will drive the spear deeper into the wooden floor, and then it's harder to bash through it. But of course, you have to hold it, and this could be handy if you're a weaker person, or perhaps you're not that you don't have much strength. That way, you can barricade the door a little bit. A determined burglar will be determined to find a way in, but at least it will slow them down, perhaps. Another thing you can do is, if you have a corner in a hallway or your bedroom door and you stand next behind your door, it's if you know there is somebody coming around the corner, you can perhaps keep them at bay, especially if you do not know if they have already a firearm or not. It's very dangerous to just go stand your ground like this, especially if you do not know what kind of firearms they have or what kind of weaponry. So you can perhaps play it safe and wait around the corner, and without exposing too much of yourself, you can try to keep them at bay. And this is the only thing that they will be able to see. They will know you're armed, they will know you're determined, and especially if they do not have a firearm, they will try to keep at bay. But always try to only do it if you're sure that they're right behind the corner. So don't try to poke out like this and expose yourself fully. Always try to show as minimal as possible what you're going to do, and perhaps that way you can try to give them a step and getting away when they are wounded. So it's more like be used as a type of ambush instead of keeping them away. But if they know you're already there, perhaps the psychological effect of not knowing that you're armed and you're determined can sometimes be enough to deter them away. And especially if you are trying to hold them off, and even if you don't have somebody else in your house, yell like you're yelling at someone to say, "Call the cops, I'll keep them at bay." The burglars will know, oh, there's not only multiple persons, even if it's not so, they are calling the cops now. So we only have that much time till they are calling and they have the cops, and we cannot just rush in because there is a guy with a weapon behind it. So all those factors combined can buy you enough time, or give a psychological aversion to keep pushing through with what they are planning. So yeah, that's just a small tactic. So another thing you can do with the spear is, and this could be if you make light, the burglars will easily detect you. So if you know they have firearms, perhaps you need to move through the dark. So for example, if you spotted the danger, you see, oh, they're armed, but I will not risk to put on a light or the D light. You can in the dark use it as like a blind man with a stick to navigate through your dark halls in that way, perhaps. But I would advise to use the wind stick because that will make less noise than the ticking of a metal snip that is making a lot of more noise. Like I said, it's not the best tactic, but it's a tactic.